A big cancellation just took place that does affect a current champion, so we'll see what that's about. We'll also check out what's going on with Solo Sikoa, the women's division, and more. Starting things off with the big cancellation for a champion in the women's division, and this champion is Chelsea Green. A few weeks ago on SmackDown, WWE had officially launched a storyline teaser of how Chelsea and Piper had extreme interest in expanding Chelsea's Secret Service protection, since more and more superstars were threatening to take the United States title off of her. And right after that, we saw Piper talking in the background of a SmackDown to Blair Davenport, most likely in regards to bringing her aboard to join Chelsea's security team. It was a little teaser that got fans hyped up to see who Chelsea could convince to come protect her, but unfortunately, that's where the story both started and ended. It looks like they were teasing Blair Davenport's return to be a part of Chelsea's story, but it never continued. And then the news recently broke out that Blair Davenport was released by WWE. All the recent WWE releases hurt. You obviously don't want to see anyone lose their job, especially their dream job. But Blair's release is one of those releases that really hurts the most, because it felt like she was never given a fair chance to showcase her talent on the main roster. And the community seems to all be in agreement that Blair Davenport was done pretty dirty here all around. She gets a big run in NXT. She earns that main roster call-up, but it looks like they called her up without having the slightest clue and direction in mind for her. They tried pairing her up with the Unholy Union, but that did not last long. Then she went missing for a long time. Her return gets hinted at with the backstage segment with Piper, and then she just suddenly gets released. So you feel for everyone that was released, but fans feel like Blair did not get much of anything to really work with on the main roster. And this has started up a whole conversation and debate amongst the community about main roster call-ups. Obviously, everyone in NXT all has the like-minded goal, and that's to get called up to the main roster and become the biggest attraction for the company. A main roster call-up is supposed to be a great thing, but recent history tells you that in actuality, it's quite scary and unpredictable because you don't know which route you're going in. You could go down the Tiffany Stratton route. You come to the main roster, the crowd gets behind you, everything clicks, and you establish yourself on the main roster right away. Or you could go down the route that Blair and others have gone down, where it feels like they never really were given a fair shot on the main roster, and then they get released a few months later. So that's why the main roster call-ups could be seen as a bit scary. Now let's jump into this conversation with the women's division, because this is another heated conversation right now where fans are bringing up nothing but valid points. The two main WWE Women's World titles still feel valuable and extremely important, but every other women's title in the division is once again starting to feel like they don't matter, and it really started with the Women's Royal Rumble match. Some fans were questioning why Bianca Belair, Naomi, Lyra, and Chelsea Green were even in the Women's Royal Rumble match to begin with. Those are all champions that already have a certain division championship around their waist. Bianca and Naomi are the champions of the tag team division. They should be focused on being tag team champions and fighting to stay on top of the tag team division. Why are they competing for a WrestleMania main event singles opportunity when they're already champions? Same thing applies for Lyra and Chelsea. These are two inaugural mid-card women's champions that have titles that are barely a few months old. Why aren't they establishing the mid-card titles as being something valuable? The fact that Chelsea and Lyra were in the Rumble sort of feels like it's neglecting their one titles and devaluating those titles right off the bat. If Chelsea and Lyra don't really care for their own titles and they got their eyes on challenging for the world titles at WrestleMania, then should we, as the audience, care for the mid-card titles? And unfortunately, this negligence of the women's titles does not stop with the Royal Rumble. Just take a look at the recent Women's Elimination Chamber qualifying matches. Lyra, Chelsea, Bianca, and Naomi are all in qualifying matches for the Women's Elimination Chamber match, despite the fact that these four women are already holding a championship. So this is a big issue that fans were discussing this week, because it's hard to comprehend why is Bianca and Naomi doing the Elimination Chamber match as tag team champions. Shouldn't they be in the tag team division defending their titles against other tag teams? rather than getting constant singles competition opportunities as if they're not even a tag team. It's a little mind-boggling and ironic because back in 2022, one of the rumored and alleged reasons for Mercedes and Naomi's walkout was due to the fact that their reign as tag team champions was getting ignored, and they were put in singles matches for world title opportunities rather than the company respecting them as tag team champions. Well, fast forward 3 years later, and Bianca and Naomi find themselves in that exact same situation with the women's tag team titles. So this is a big concern for the fans right here. You have the women's tag team titles, you have the newly introduced mid-card titles, but it does not feel like each level of the women's division is properly fleshed out and established. It sort of feels like Lyra, Chelsea, Bianca, and Naomi aren't even holding a title right now, when they're all in fact holding one after all. So that's the heated conversation summed up that's happening right now amongst the fans, and it's all valid points. So hopefully the entire women's division gets back on track soon. Now let's get into the big return of Solo Sikoa, because it was met with some confusion and mixed reactions. Solo Sikoa only made one appearance on television since losing to Roman Reigns in the Tribal Combat match, and that appearance included him being speechless and walking off SmackDown. Now a few weeks later, and Solo Sikoa is finally shown back up. During the closing moments of SmackDown, Solo Sikoa appeared out of nowhere to take out Cody Rhodes, and made it clear that he's coming after Cody in the WWE title. Although it was great to see Solo Sikoa back, fans instantly questioned the decision to have him go after Cody Rhodes again. Solo already faced Cody Rhodes at last year's SummerSlam, and then faced him again in a cage match a few weeks after that. So fans are questioning how necessary is it for a third meeting between Solo and Cody. Solo obviously isn't taking the title and is not a fresh opponent for Cody. So there definitely was a bit of an instant fatigue there in the community for seeing this feud pick back up again. Although it may not be the most compelling feud to start back up, Solo's character motive makes sense here. Solo officially lost the tribal chief position of his family. That's gone. He's not getting the family title or respect back at all. So Solo has now turned his attention to the next best thing, to try and help build himself back up again and gain some respect back. And that's the WWE Championship. The Ula Fala may be out of reach for him, but he figures that if he can capture the title, that would repair his name a bit. So that does make sense. It also looks like this feud picking back up with Cody Rhodes will be used potentially to ruin Solo and Jacob's relationship with each other even more. Jacob has been on a big and massive impressive singles run ever since Solo's been gone. So maybe Jacob is a bit hesitant about becoming Solo's enforcer again. But maybe they work it out and Jacob's on at least good terms with Solo. However, have Solo Sikoa lose a third consecutive match to Cody for the WWE title, and also coming off that loss to Roman Reigns, and that may be the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Jacob Fatu will officially dispose of Solo Sikoa and disassociate himself with Solo after yet again another embarrassing loss to Cody. So that's why they could be quietly setting up in the background Jacob's full betrayal of Solo after he once again fails to win the big one. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.